Hey everybody, it's Dowden. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use saturation in parallel processing to add a bit of weight and presence to your drums without increasing the amount of headroom by a noticeable amount. I have my drum loop here, and I'm going to add in an audio effect rack. I'm going to drop it into my audio effects, and then I'm going to click on the show and hide chains list. Now I'm going to right click and create a chain. So this chain is the signal of the drum rack going through. But I'm going to duplicate this, and now I have the channel split into two, but it's the exact same signal coming through both channels. I have it coming through this channel, and the exact same volume and signal coming through this channel. We can see here that it's hitting about negative 12.5. So I'm going to rename this one to dry, and rename this one to wet. Next what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a saturator, and I'm going to drag it onto the wet channel. I'm going to turn up the drive of the saturator a large amount. I'm going to put about 20 decibels, but I'm also going to reduce the output by 20 decibels to compensate for the volume change. Now I'm going to have 100% dry wet so we can hear what's really happening with the saturated drums. So we get that saturation, but we lose a lot of the punchiness in the drums. So what we can do is process in parallel so that we're only introducing a specific amount into the dry signal as to not compromise the original dry signal, but instead add a bit of the wet signal to the dry signal to really make it shine with the saturation. Go ahead and we're going to turn down the wet signal, and then we're going to turn on the dry signal and slowly introduce the wet signal until we start to hear it add a bit of presence. So before, only the dry signal, and with the wet signal. And something to keep in mind is that we are parallel processing, so we're adding in a second signal that is 100% wet. Because of this, we are adding a bit of extra room, but because we're using saturation, it's actually not taking up too much headroom, which is great. So if we look at our master meter here, we reset that and we listen just so low to the dry signal. We're hitting about negative 10 decibels. If we introduce the wet signal and reset the peak level signal, we're still only hitting negative 10 decibels. We're hitting the same amount of headroom, but we've introduced that extra presence due to the saturation, and we haven't compromised the dry signal. We're still getting the punchiness of the drums. We've just kind of sprinkled the saturation on top of the drums by introducing it with parallel processing and 100% wet signal onto the 100% dry signal. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and definitely smash the like button if you enjoyed the video.